Hello and welcome to another My NT Married video. I'm going to be talking about sex again. I feel like it's a common topic on this channel. It keeps reoccurring and reoccurring and reoccurring. So we've had a few conversations about it recently. A couple of weeks back, he said something about, aren't you ever in the mood anymore? And I said, do you mean in the mood to do things for you? And he said yes. He said, even if you're not in the mood, you could still do things for me. I said, well, you kind of answered your question with your own statement there, because it's all about you and what you want. And we've had this conversation so often throughout our relationship that it really just drives me mad, because he is never accountable for where our sex life is right now. He kind of brings to the table a major lack of intimacy and then complains that I just don't want to do anything. And this has been happening since we first got together. And things did improve. When we first got together, his idea of putting the moves on was to kiss me and try and take my underpants off. Like, woo, hold me back with all that, foreplay. And I'm kind of there going, yeah, no, this isn't working for me. Like, there's nothing happening beforehand. There's no pillow talk before or after, there's no flirting, there's no arousal, there's no desire, there's no build-up. It's, I'm ignoring you all day. I come to bed and I put those moves on. And so I'm like, yeah, no, I need more than this. And he would just get really stroppy and really shitty and turn over and ignore me for days because I'd said no and, bullshit things like that, pardon my French. Really, really aggravating. And I'd gone from these really sort of impressive lovers who knew how to work magic to this guy who's not even trying to work any magic. He just wants it on tap like a blow-up doll. And I'm talking to him about this and he's just getting really stroppy and he's trying to tell me that his girlfriends liked how he did it and they were always, having a good time and stuff like this. And I must admit, even now, I find that really impossible to believe, because he can't have gone from this great lover to this really bad lover all of a sudden. And it's not as though my needs are so ridiculous that they can't be met. He's straight up not trying. So I never believed him. I thought his girlfriends, his exes, they had to have been faking. There's no chance that they were enjoying this with him. Anyway, so we're battling over that. It goes on for years. We have this stupid foreplay battle that goes on for years. We have sex because I'm in the mood or I'm ovulating and, I'm getting myself ready. It's always me getting myself ready. He's not really doing much of anything. He did get to the point where my enjoyment mattered, and that's because I said to him, look, if I'm not climaxing, I'm not even going to bother having sex with you. Why would I? Like, how stupid. And if I'm not being aroused, then why would I bother? So he did start to put in a little bit of effort, but it was still not very skilled. And so I would be left doing most of the work. And I kind of tolerated this for years and years and years and years and years, trying all of these different things and hoping it would get better. And it just isn't getting better. It's getting so annoying that I find sex so frustrating now that I just don't even want to go there. The mere thought of it, the frustration I feel just at the thought. And I feel bad for him because he can't help it. It's not his fault that he's born with a particular condition that means that he's just not able to perform. But at the same time, I don't have to suffer through it, so I'm not. So that's the backstory, right? We've stopped doing the funky for a number of years now. And so he has this conversation with me about how you could at least do things for me. Okay, our whole sex life is doing things for you. And that's exactly why I've stopped, because I don't want to do that anymore. Now, at the point of having this conversation with him, we're on our way to see our son in the hospital. And when I give my response about how you've answered your own question with your own statement, he cracks the shits and goes, well, why even bother being married then? Okay. And so we walk in to see our son, and we've got this awful frustration hanging over us, and we're trying to be jovial for our boy. It was really, really awful. And then a couple of weeks before that, he'd said something to me about you're a tease. And I don't know what he's talking about, because I'm avoiding all forms of everything. Like, I'm not wearing nice dresses or clothes or sexy lingerie. I don't shower with him. I try not to shower when he's home. I try to avoid any kind of form of anything that might be tantalizing. And so when he says you're a tease, I'm like, just my mere resistance, do that for you? That's weird, but anyway. And I said to him, you're the tease. I said, you're the manpower body with no idea how to use it. And he kind of looks at me and it's like, oh. And I was like, I don't know what to say. Like, it's just blaming me for this, and I'm not the fault of it, Anyway, I thought that might sort of stop him from bringing the conversation up, but it isn't. And then a little while later, so this is after the hospital visit, he says something about it again. How terrible it is that we're not doing anything. And this time I said, stop pretending you care about having a healthy sex life. And he goes really quiet. And I thought, woo, I've hit something here. Maybe I can say this to him and it'll be the be all and end all of the conversation ending, I don't want to talk about it anymore, because nothing I say makes a difference. And I'd said to him, you keep talking about how you wish we had sex, but you never do anything to improve, instigate, better, nothing. Like, he makes no moves whatsoever and just wants me to come to bed and put the moves on him. And I'm just thinking, this cannot be about having a healthy sex life. It's just, for him, a means to an end. Anyway, so recently he comes home from work and he's really sad and not talking to me. And I'm just sort of like trying to engage a little bit, but he's not having it. So I go off and grey rock. All right, you do you. See you later. I'm off to do my own thing. A little while later, I say to him, are you going to tell me what's on your mind? And he goes, I want this marriage to end. I'm not happy in this marriage. I want to have a trial separation, yada yada. Okay, this is thrown for a loop. All right. So I say, oh, you're going to give me more information than that? He says, you should already know. And that's all he says. Okay. I wait a little bit longer. About a day or so later, he says, I'm not happy with our lack of intimacy. And I say, by intimacy you mean sex. And he says, you know what I mean. Damn right I do. He just means sex. He doesn't mean intimacy, and therein lies the problem. Because I am bothered by our lack of intimacy. I am bothered by the fact that we don't have pillow talk. We don't even talk about sex. We don't ever talk about likes and desires. And even the likes and desires that I've told him I have, he doesn't do them. And in fact, there are certain things that I don't like that he does when we're doing the deed. Hence my frustration, because he'll do this thing that I hate and I'm just like, get off me. What are you doing that for? You know, it irritates me. And now I'm like, I mean, you're kind of in the mood and then you do something I don't like and it just kills it, you know? And so here he is talking about how he has this lack of intimacy and therefore we need to get divorced because what's the point of being in a marriage without sex? And I'm sort of like, what's the point of being in a marriage without intimacy? Like, we never had that anyway, and you still wanted to be in the relationship. Anyway, I don't really say anything like, yeah, we should get a divorce or fight for not getting a divorce. I really don't care at this stage how he wants to play it. I'm just sort of grey rocking and like, you do you. But eventually he says, can you live this way for the rest of your life? Now, when I think of how young and spunky and enthusiastic and playful and flirty and all of those things I was at the start of the relationship, and how I continued to be them throughout the relationship, trying so hard to make our sex life good, let alone fantastic. And when I think that I'll never have that again, and I will have never had a partner who equaled me in that, I kind of die a little bit inside. Like when I think this is it, there is no more, I kind of die. Like, damn, what a waste. What a waste. And him with his manpower body and no idea of how to use it. I mean, just, it's such a waste. But at the same time, I am so much happier now that sex is off the table, because it really made me angry when we would do things and it would be so bad. And I'd be like, oh, this is so unenjoyable that I'd rather have nothing. And so I said to him, to answer his question, I'd rather no sex than average sex. And he says, really, you could just live without sex for the rest of your life? I'm like, well, if the other alternative is my only option, then yes, I would rather have no sex than have this really frustrating sex that, quite frankly, depresses the hell out of me because I want more. I crave more. I long for more caresses and touches and made to feel beautiful and attractive and all of this stuff that he just does not, will not, and cannot bring to the table. So I don't think this will be the end of it. I feel like this conversation is going to go around and around and around until death do we part or something. He's just not getting it. He just doesn't understand that if he can't meet my needs, I cannot keep meeting his. And he's not even trying to meet my needs, and that I think bothers me more than anything. He doesn't actually do anything to make any kind of improvements, even though he knows that that's what I want and need. So look, in the end, I think he's just kind of moved on from that conversation. Like I don't know, he still might want to separate or something, but he hasn't really said much more about it. I mean, aside from the fact that, oh yeah, he said in the end, he goes, if the sex is so bad, then why are we even together? Why are you even with me? Are you just with me for my money? All right then, he's taken it there. And I didn't say anything, I just looked at him. And then a little while later he came up to me to sort of like, kind of apologise in a sense. He sort of got close like he was going to hug me. And I said to him, the reason I stayed is because I thought it would improve. I thought that our sex life would get better, that I could teach a new dog old tricks, and that things would improve. But they just kind of didn't. So it wasn't like I was just here clinging on to any kind of monetary, things. And it's not as though I don't bring my own to the table in that regard anyway. But yeah, it's just this interesting conversation that just keeps coming up all of the time, over and over again. And no matter what is said, he doesn't get it. He just cannot fathom, and this is the really, really sad part, he literally cannot fathom all of the things that are missing sexually. Like when he talks about intimacy, he just doesn't even understand what that means. And that's the really sad part about it. And I know that I've said this before, he feels closer when we have sex, or at least he says so. I personally don't feel that from him. I don't have sex with him and feel like he's closer, nicer, more affectionate, more anything. But he seems to think it brings us closer together. I think it's more about wants and desires on his part. I think that he has urges and he wants them met, to be honest. I'll be blunt. I don't think it has anything to do with closeness. I think he just wants his end wet, as my mum would say. And he's annoyed that he's in a relationship and that just isn't happening. And he doesn't do anything about it. He just tries to guilt me into it. Try to coerce me into it by going, why are we even bothering in this relationship then? Which is what he's done throughout our relationship. When he doesn't get his way sexually, he pouts and he tries to coerce and guilt me into feeling like I'm the one at fault. He's bringing lousy sex to the table, but I'm the one at fault, not accepting it. And I haven't been taking that blame at all throughout the relationship, and it doesn't stop him from trying to dish that blame onto me. Yeah, so that conversation, again, really frustrating. But it is what it is, right? I'm sure you can relate. And on this note, I just want to say that I've heard of situations where people who are on the spectrum range from asexual to semi-sexual, like my husband, but they don't put in any effort, and then highly sexual, where sex is almost their passion. But even in those situations, from the females that I've spoken to, now granted I haven't spoken to every person in the world, but the females I've spoken to who have hypersexual Aspies, the sex is still about them and what they want, and their partner's needs are relatively ignored. And again, I haven't spoken to all of them. There may well be people in relationships with Aspies who are having a fabulous sex life, loving life, maybe the best part of their relationship. And if that's you, kudos to you, well done and high five. How lucky. But the majority of us don't really fall in that category. We fall in the sexual frustration, we're not getting any, it's not going our way category. So, yeah, just putting that out there. Anyway, if you can relate, which I'm sure many can, feel free to drop a comment below. And as always, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I really do appreciate it.